the news cycle finally slows down. If you haven't been paying attention, there's a lot of things going on. I want to first thank you for joining me. If this is your first live with me or your 15th live with me, thank you so much for joining me. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, my Substack channel. I always try to go live on YouTube in the morning and Substack in the evening. And if you're watching this on a replay, welcome to you as well. There are so many things happening today, and I thought we would get into some of the headlines that are rocking the globe this morning, and really just kind of making everything even more unstable. I am here to bring you joy, though, and that is bringing you the trauma with a smile. So if you are just joining me, let me know in the comments where you're joining me from, and let's get into it. There are so many things that I have. I saved so many different headlines for you this morning that I think I have to start with this one. Okay, so this is JLo. She has a new show that is coming to a few specific dates, okay? And this actually popped up on my YouTube yesterday. So I want to know your comments. Leave them if you are in real time or watching this at a later date. I want to know your thoughts because she had a tour planned, and she also had something come out, I believe, on Netflix, and it was with Ben Affleck. It was kind of the behind the scenes of the making of like the music video movie that she had to go along with her album. She also had a tour to go along with that album. And then I believe what happened was that concert sales, like the ticket sales, were not basically meeting the sort of projection. And so that tour was scrapped. Then now she's supposed to be, I believe, hosting the AMAs, and she has this promo for select dates this summer. So I don't know what that really means, how many dates they're going to be, but she definitely, clearly, one, has a good work ethic, two, wants to be on stage, and probably has been away because she had a movie come out, I believe, not too long ago as well. She is a constant hustle going on. So I feel like this is her way of re-entering the sort of music scene without really getting back into it with like a full-fledged tour. So let me know your comments if you have seen this promo and what you think of her kind of dipping her toe back into the performance scene on the concert stage. All right, so let's get into another one. This is the big topic this morning. She says China is not afraid, raises tariffs on the US to 125%. Now, all day yesterday, I saw these different like memes and different sorts of TikToks that were talking about why I think it's she, was putting specific numbers on the tariffs that were like the retaliatory tariffs. The number 34, somebody said, and I cannot guarantee that this is the actual truth, but the reason that they were putting on for the memes was 34% was the retaliatory tariff first, because that was the number of like charges that Donald Trump had. Which I thought, if that is the truth, that is the shadiest of shades. Then the number went up to 84%. And someone else on TikTok said that apparently in Chinese or in Mandarin, the number 4 is really like, the sound of it sounds like death. But 84 apparently, according to this person, sounds like bitter death. So going from 34, as in like 34 counts, to bitter death in 84%, to now 125%. I am wondering if you speak Mandarin or any other, dialect here of Chinese, does 125% make any sense in Chinese? Because I believe that there's always something behind what people are doing, okay? There's always something behind the numbers. Like why, 34% was the retaliatory number. There has to be a reason why it wasn't 33% or 35%. Why 125%? It's very curious, especially because people were coming up with all these different theories behind the 34 and 84. So if you know anything about 125% and what it actually would mean potentially in Mandarin, let me know in the comments. All right, so what does this really mean for the US? Because a lot of people still don't understand what tariffs actually do and why so many economists say they don't work. So why are we continuing this battle specifically with China? Apparently, the 90-day pause that Donald Trump put yesterday, I believe, which was Thursday, is only going into effect for pretty much nearly everybody else that he had put tariffs on, except for China. And this new version of the retaliatory number basically is like, yeah, so what? That's basically what China is saying. And for people who are like, don't support China because, it's a communist country and blah, 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 I'm just going to say this. This is not backing down. This vibe, this attitude, this whatever this is, it's giving, we don't care. And you know what? Donald Trump should be shaking a little bit because this tells you that China's not going to be calling. I saw another article with a headline, something like, Donald Trump's waiting for China to call. China ain't calling. He ain't calling you. You're going to have to be reaching out to him, and that's going to be on you. It's Trump's fault that this is happening. Instead of feeling like he could negotiate behind the scenes, he just was like, no, he wants the headlines. He wants the drama. And you know what? He's going to get the drama. What are your thoughts? Put them in the comments. Hey, bonjour, Vivian. I'm so glad that you're here. It's a good day. Not for us in China, but it's good for all the people that I am now coming to see in all of my live streams. So I'm so glad you're here. Let's go to this next one. All right, this is from yesterday, and I wanted to bring this to your attention because this was from Los Angeles. So it says, Homeland Security agents denied entry to 2 LAUSD elementary schools. LAUSD stands for Los Angeles Unified School District. And if you haven't been following all of these random different ICE encounters, some of them have been happening at schools. And so this is one of the things that we have actually been seeing a lot of with different pamphlets coming home, knowing your rights, making sure that you understand that the school has a specific perimeter around every LA Unified School District school that is considered a safe zone that you cannot go into. If you're a normal, resident, obviously if you live on that street, yes. But if you are law enforcement, unless you have a warrant, you are not allowed on school grounds, right? Unless there is some sort of active shooter situation, well then yeah, law enforcement can, de-escalate something like that. But if you are coming to a school to try to intimidate or threaten or kidnap, all those things, ICE cannot do that. And they're masking this sort of encounter as a welfare check, okay? So I wanted to give you a little bit more in this article. It says the incidents happened Monday at Lillian Elementary School and Russell Elementary School. And it says Department of Homeland Security agents were denied entry into these 2 schools earlier in the week. And I tell you, it's not that they were just denied. They were acting as if these were wellness checks on the schools who arrived unaccompanied at the border. These students were apparently they were unaccompanied minors, but they are staying with legal guardians. And they're telling these school principals, DHS is leading the efforts to conduct welfare checks on these children to ensure that they are safe and not being exploited, abused, or sex trafficked. But that's not what they're doing. Okay, now they say this is what they're doing, but why do you need to do a welfare check with an ICE agent? Okay, because they have the HSI officers. So you've got officers going to schools to basically talk to between 1st and 6th graders. 1st and 6th graders without an attorney, without a parent or a legal guardian. To me, that says doesn't pass the smell test. Let me know in the comments what you think about people going into these areas basically with the idea, what I'm thinking is they want to take these children and use them as bait. That's the thing that I think they're doing. They're not doing welfare checks. That's not my opinion on this. I think this is all BS. What is your opinion? Feel free to leave it in the comments. All right, this one right here, this is, I believe, a very good quote here. It says, my first question starts there. What interest should a Homeland Security agent have in a 1st grader? I mean, just think about the anxiety, the trauma of potentially being pulled out of school by an agent of somebody you don't even know, who might be threatening you for, information about the whereabouts of other people that potentially could be undocumented. I just feel like this could all go very sideways very quickly. All right. Let's talk about one other thing that I think is very, very suspect. And I just want to shake the hand of this woman. Okay, so not Usha Vance, because I think she is transitioning herself into a GOP operative just in our plain view. This, I believe, was from a meeting that they did, but this article is talking about Greenland. Do you guys remember when they went to Greenland, JD and Usha, and they basically flipped that turn? They turned the plane around within like 3 hours. It was like the quickest misuse of government funds I think I've ever seen. It says Usha Vance was asked about JD calling for rehiring of Doge staffer who posted, quote, normalize Indian hate. And this is how she responded. Okay, now here's what she says. Quote, and I have to move back for this one. It says, quote, I obviously disagree with some of Elez's posts, but I don't think stupid social media activity should ruin a kid's life. So I say, bring him back. Now, I understand the idea of one social media post going awry, but when it is hate-filled like that, normalize Indian hate, I'm just looking at this like, this person clearly had an agenda, okay? Clearly had an agenda. And unfortunately, she is now siding with this person. And I don't know how much of a kid this person was. If they were old enough to know, then yeah, I don't think they should be on the staff. I just don't think they should be on the staff. But go ahead and normalize Indian hate. I think that's so sad that she would actually justify somebody like this who's doing things like this. I don't know. You leave me a comment. Tell me if you think that that's ruining what I think people really thought that Usha was like the normal one of the bunch. And every little turn, I'm like, oh my gosh, she really is drinking the Kool-Aid here. She's drinking the Kool-Aid. All right, let's talk about this one because I always have to highlight some joyfulness. And that's, excuse me with my squeaky chair, is Jasmine Crawford. Jasmine Crawford is a star. She is a star. If you haven't been watching her and the things that she's been saying, definitely start watching what she's saying. She is a lawyer. She's also a representative from Texas, and she's got the balls to stand up to all of her colleagues in Congress. It says lawmaker blasts Trump billing taxpayers $30 million with an M, $1 million for his golf trips. Quote, if we're going to talk about efficiency, this is not efficiency, right? This golfing is not efficient with the taxpayers' money. I just know that she is a star. She's going to be on this stage for a long time, and they are coming for her because she is telling it like it is. Quote, we're not getting anything in return for that. He's not a better president because he's gone golfing. Absolutely not. All right, let's go to this one, which is just more of Caroline. Caroline Leavitt. White House is refusing to distribute press pool reports that contain inconvenient information. Yeah, it sounds a lot like what they did with the AP, okay, with the Associated Press. It says, in what appears to be a push to take even firmer control over the press corps coverage of the current administration, the White House is now selectively distributing reports submitted by press poolers and apparently cutting the ones it doesn't like. How about that? Looks like they just don't want to put out anything that may make the president look bad. And that takes a lot because a lot of what he does makes him look bad. All right, let's go to this one because this is another one, part of that J.D. Vance and Usha trip to Greenland. The commander of the U.S. base in Greenland fired for email critical of Vance's visit. Now, apparently this is a female commander of the Pitafik, I think, space base in Greenland. And they basically fired her for a loss of confidence, okay? Apparently, I'm gonna get out of the way here. It says Myers was removed from command The commander of the space base, which is headquartered in Peterson Space Force Base in Colorado Springs. Okay, so I'm not sure exactly what the email said, but apparently it was not favorable. And this is, let me try to get to the actual picture of the colonel. I believe this is the colonel that was removed. Quote, civilian control of the military is a bedrock principle of our armed forces. Actions to undermine the chain of command or to subvert President Trump's agenda will not be tolerated at the Defense Department. So apparently whatever she said was not very favorable of J.D. Vance's visit. And I believe it was probably the part about how Denmark was not basically doing Greenland any favors or not taking care of Greenland. But either way, good for her for standing up. All right, let's talk about one thing that you can do that I did yesterday. I was watching a TikTok and this guy said, I'm a garbage man, but I believe that the market manipulation that Donald Trump was doing by, saying now's a good time to buy on his Truth Social tweet, and then also then bringing in people after the fact. He was talking to like Charles Schwab and all these really older businessmen in the Oval Office, just joking about how much money they had made, right? With the up and the down and the up and the down, the market manipulation that was happening with the stock market due to his tariffs on, tariffs off, tariffs pause, blah, blah, blah. You can submit a tip and or a complaint. And I did that yesterday after I saw this guy who said, I think this is fraud. I think that this is a Ponzi scheme. I think that he purposely manipulated the markets. You can do this if you go to the SEC, it's the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, and you can click on where it says submit a tip or a complaint. Vivian, I saw a video about that in his office. Yes, he was joking. You made this millions of dollars. You made this billions of dollars. All of them, as if it was like a good old boys club in the Oval Office, and how they were just in the gilded age of, while we're all over here in the recession, they're over there like chuckling it up and basically telling on themselves. So yes, go, feel free to submit a tip or a complaint if you believe, like I do, that all of what was happening with those tariffs was market manipulation. And it wasn't just the first time. I believe this was the second time. The first one was about the tariffs in Canada and Mexico. And then the second time was yesterday with the tariffs on global trade. Well, I should say last Thursday. Then it went up and the down and up and the down. But the more blatant one was when he put out that tweet. Now's a good time to buy. Yes, and you can see, I think a few videos have the stock trades where the traders were placing their calls, and then the public, the general public, kind of found out. Yeah, it's very blatant, and you can do this either with your name or you can do it anonymously. I did it anonymously, but I'm telling you that I did it. So if they're looking at my video, they will know that I have submitted a complaint, because that's what I believe, and it is my duty to report something if I believe that it is true. Now, friends come first. Yes, Vivian. Gotta tell your buddies, right? The one person that I am curious to know where they are? I normally talk about Mark Meadows because he's been like MIA everywhere. But where is Ivanka? Where is Ivanka? Where's Jared? Where is Jared Kushner? I know that she was everywhere during his first term and she decided not to be around during this term. But I'm curious as to what she thinks about all of what's going on, because she herself, I believe she has aspirations for political office. And I think she is taking this sort of side route because she doesn't want to be associated with all of the things that she knows are just plain wrong. The SAVE Act passed through Congress yesterday and is going to go to the Senate. Lord help us if the SAVE Act goes into law, because there will be, I think, 70 million women impacted because their last name that they probably either took through adoption, changed on their own, or took through marriage won't match their birth certificate. So That's a whole other thing. We will talk about that another day. But I hope that you have a fantastic Friday. These are just some of the things that I've been looking at this morning. This is something that you can do. It's free. If you think that he manipulated the markets, go ahead and submit a tip or a complaint on why you think that is and how you think he did it, because I think it was in plain sight. I hope you have a fantastic weekend as well. And if you would be so kind as to hit the thumbs up if you really liked my live today, and also subscribe to my YouTube channel, it's free. I also have a Substack, and I put the link into the description somewhere over here where you can find the link to my Substack, and you can find me over there live this evening. I try to do a live on YouTube in the morning and a live on Substack in the evening to kind of talk about the day's headlines and then wrap it up in the end. I did put my first Substack post where it's a long form content about what I think is happening with these housing market, especially here in Los Angeles. And that's on Substack as well. So I hope to see you on both platforms and have a really, really good weekend.